各位傳媒朋友，
Members of the public,
上個星期
friends of the media,
喺大埔
last week
宏福苑，
at
我哋
Court
經歷
in
咗一
Taipei,
場慘痛嘅奪命大
we
火。
experienced a
呢一場火
devastating fire.
焚燒嘅不只係7座樓宇，
The fire did not only
仲
burn
深
7
深刺痛
blocks,
我哋每一位香港人嘅心。
it also
不
greatly
少人失去咗佢哋身邊嘅親人，
many people lost
朋友，
their loved ones, including their
我
families
哋
and friends.
亦都失去咗一位英勇嘅
We
消
also
防員。
lost a brave firefighter.
經過連續多日不分晝夜嘅救火同埋救援行
After
動，
days of firefighting
消防人員
rescue and
完成
search
咗滅火同埋
efforts,
搜救工作，
firefighters
喺火場中
have completed
成功
the
拯救
rescue
咗不少
operations.
嘅居民。
They have successfully
呢
rescued
啲
a
生命
number
嘅
of
奇蹟
residents.
係消防人員以生命守護翻嚟嘅。
The
我首先
firefighters used their
向
lives
爭
to
分
make these
奪秒、
miracles happen.
負命救命
We raced
扶
against
傷嘅
time.
消防人員致敬。
And
致以
I would like
無
to
盡嘅
give
感
my
謝。
respect to all firefighters.
我亦都感
I
謝
express my deep
不同
gratitude
崗
to
位
them.
各人
I would
員
also like
各
to
司其職
thank all personnel in
醫護
different
人員
positions,
盡心盡力拯救
Healthcare
每一位傷者。
staff,
警務
They
人
made
員
every
喺
effort
現場
to
維持
save
秩序，
the
配合
victims.
救火嘅工作，
Police officers
之後
were at
全
the
速
scene
行動，
to
投
maintain
入
order
後續嘅
and to support the
搜證、
firefighting
調查、
rescue
遺
operations.
體辨
They
認等等嘅
also
工作。
collected
仲
evidence
有不
and
辭勞
helped
苦
with
嘅前線人員、
identification
公
of
務員
bodies.
同埋熱心市民。
A lot of frontline civil servants also worked hard. I
不同
also
嘅人
thank
士
the enthusiastic members
今
of
次
the public.
都展現出
Different
我哋
people
香港人同是一家、
have displayed
互愛互助。
the spirit that
無
we
私
are all
付出
one family
團結
and
一
that
致。
we selflessly sacrifice
火
ourselves
災
and
至
we're
今
able
已
to
經導
unite
致
ourselves. The
151
fire
人
has
喪生，
already claimed
79人
151
受傷，
lives.
傷者當
79
中
were
40
injured.
人
Among
仍然
them,
留醫。
40 are still
警方已
hospitalized.
經聯絡，
The police
又或
have
者
already
排除咗多個報失聯嘅個案，
ruled
而家
out a number of
正係
cases
跟進餘
that
下
are
約
unaccounted
30
for.
個
They are
失聯
now
個案。
following up on 30
我哋懷
missing
住
person
極
cases.
度悲傷嘅心情，
With deep
度過
sorrow,
咗過去幾日，政府建築物
in the
下
past
半期
few
悼念，
days,
不少市民
experienced pain
到政
and
府喺全港18
the
區
flags
設立
in a
嘅
lot of government
調研
buildings
處
were
簽署
flying at
調研冊
half-mast,
悼念。
and we
到
have set up
大埔
condolence
獻
points
花
in 18
表達
districts in
哀
Hong
思。
Kong. Many citizens
政府
have
全力
been to
照顧
Taipo
同埋
to
支
lay
援
flowers
受
and
影響
mourn
嘅
for
居民，
victims. The
協助
government is
佢哋
making every
渡
effort
過
to
最艱
support
難
the
嘅時期。
affected residents to help them
火災後，
weather the
政府啟動
difficult
庇護
times.
中心，安置
government
流離失所嘅大
opened
埔
up
宏福苑居民。
Centers
隨後
to
陸續安排
rehouse
佢
the
哋
affected
共
residents
2500
from
人
Wangfuk Court.
轉移到過渡性房屋、
2,500
防疫
affected
單位、
residents are
青年
rehoused
宿
at
舍、
transitional housing
酒店
units,
等等暫
units
住。
managed by
而
the
家
Housing
有約
Authority as well
20 名
as
人
youth
士
hostels and
仍然留
hotels.
喺庇護
About
中心。
20 affected residents are
我哋
still at
啟動
temporary
一
shelters.
戶一
We
社
have
工
activated
支援受影響
the
嘅
one
居民，
social worker per
再
household
額外
scheme
安排
to support the
每戶
affected
2至
residents.
3名公務員
Also,
提
2
供支
to 3
援，
civil
確
servants
保
will
每
help
一戶
each
都得
household
到
to
專人
provide
照
support
顧，
to ensure
解
that
答
each
疑問，
household will
安
get
撫情緒，
dedicated support.
協助
We would like
做
to
跑腿等
help
等。
affected residents with
我
their
同多位司局長
emotions, and
到過
we would do
過渡性房
we
屋
would
探
also
訪，
provide logistic support.
我問候災民嘅時候，
I
佢哋
visited
對
some
政
of
府
the
提供嘅
affected
物資、
residents at
服
the
務
transitional
同埋
housing
津貼
units.
感到滿意。
They are happy
我亦
with
都
the
聽到
supplies
有
and
講收到
services as well as
詐騙
support
短信，
provided the government.
要求
I
提供
heard
銀
that
行戶
there
口
are fraudulent
以領取津
SMS
貼。
messages asking
我提醒佢哋
affected residents
應
or
該
other
去
people to
揾
provide
政府嘅
information of
一
their
戶一
banking
社工，
account.
又
I
或者協
told
助佢
them
哋嘅公務
to
員。
reach out to the
我喺
social
呢度
workers
譴責
or
呢啲
those
卑鄙嘅
civil servants
欺
who
騙
are
行為。
offering support to them. I condemn the despicable
資
acts
金支援
of
方面，
these scammers.
政府向每
In
戶受影
terms
響
of
嘅居
financial
民
relief
即
for
時
each
提供
household,
1萬
we
元現金
are
應急
providing
錢房室。
10,000 emergency cash
從
subsidy to
本
the
星期開始，亦
affected.
都陸
Starting
續
from
向
this
每戶
week,
嘅 家庭派發5萬蚊生活津貼。
distributing
我哋都向
$50,000
每名
of
死
living
者
allowance
提
to
供
each
20
affected
萬
household
慰
for
問金俾家屬。
household with
昨日
deceased.
我哋
We
亦
are
都宣布
providing
提供補助金5或者
$200,000
10萬
token of
俾
solidarity.
受傷
We
住
are
院嘅人
also
士。
providing $50,000 to
2萬蚊補貼
$100,000 to
金
those
俾學生、
hospitalized,
工友同埋幸
$20,000
存
of
嘅外傭。
subsidy for
政
students
府
as
會
well as
同佢
foreign
哋
domestic
共度時
helpers
間。
who survive. The government
大
will
火無情，人
tide
間有
over
愛
the。difficult times with them.
廣大香港市民
The
以及不同
fire
機
is
構
ruthless, but there
紛
is
紛
love
伸
in the
出援手，
community.
用不同嘅
Universities
方
in
式
Hong Kong as well as
向受
different
影響嘅居民
organizations
提
are
供支援。
offering their helping
政
hand
府成立
to provide
大埔
support to
宏福苑
affected
援
residents.
助基
The
金，
government set
投入
up
3億元
the
啟動資金。
dedicated fund,
隨後
and the
收
startup
到民間
capital
嘅
is
大量捐款
$300 million.
捐款，
It's the
包
support
括
fund
內
for
地同
One
胞。
Court in Taipo. We also
基
received
金
a large amount
累
of
計總額
donations
已經達到
from
16億元。
the mainland, and
呢
the
啲捐
accumulated
款
fund and donations
匯聚
received
各方嘅
reached
愛心、力
$1.6
量
million.
同埋期盼。政府會確
They
保呢
represent
啲捐款
the love and
全數
aspirations of many.
用好
The
喺協
government
助
will
居民
make sure
走
that
出
all the
困境，
donations
重
will
過
be
新
spent
生活
on
上。
helping the affected
我
residents
早
to
前宣
rebuild
布
their
成立
lives
3
and to
個工
weather
作
the
組，
difficult times.
其中
I
嘅
earlier
調
announced
查
the
及
setting up of
規管
3
工作組
working groups and
正
task
馬不
forces.
停蹄，
One of the
徹
task
查真
forces
相，追
is
究責
making
任，
every effort
為死者
to make
討
sure
回
that
公
we
道。
can hold the
消
responsible
防處
people
牽頭嘅
accountable.
跨部門調查
There is
專
an
組，正係
interdepartmental
深入調查
investigation
大火事故
task
原因。
force led by the
警方
FSD.
已經
It is
拘捕13
investigating
人，
the cause of the
自然
fire. The
誤
police
殺。
have arrested
廉政公署
13 people on
就
suspicion of
宏福苑
manslaughter.
大
The
廈維修工程
ICAC
涉嫌貪污拘捕12人。
has arrested
調
12
查
people
證
on
實
suspicion
裝
of
修工程
corruption
涉舞弊，
in connection to
有
the
預謀
maintenance
咁
works.
用不合規嘅非阻燃圍網同一啲合規嘅圍網
People
混合起嚟，
make
魚目混
premeditated
珠。
acts and mix
加上
the
工程用咗
compliant
大量嘅
protective
易
netting
燃發泡
with the
膠，
non-compliant
係
one.
導致火
Also, a
勢
large
一
amount
觸
of
即發，
styrofoam
迅
was
速蔓延
used in the
嘅關鍵
maintenance
原因
works, and it is a crucial reason for the
我希望
rapid
警
spread
方
of
同
fire.
廉署嘅聯合調查能夠早日完成，
I hope that
盡
the
快
police
將疑犯
as well as the
控訴到法庭，
ICAC would work together
同
on
時
the joint
調查其
investigation
他
so
關
that
聯
we
人，
can hold the people
將所有
accountable
需要
as
負
soon
上
as
責任嘅人
possible.
都繩之於法。
We will make sure that those
我
who
要
are
求
responsible will have to
調
bear
查到
the
底，
legal
認
responsibility.
真改革，化悲
I
憤
ask for
為
a
改革
thorough
力量。
investigation, and
打
we
破
should
利益
turn
藩籬，
our
不論
anger
涉
and
及任何
sorrow
人，
into
都一
power
問
of
到底，
reform.
追責到底。我哋要
We have
讓
to
真
hold
相
those
水落石出，
responsible
讓公義
accountable. We
得
have
到伸
to
張，讓
expose the
逝者安
truth.
息
We，have to
讓
do
生
everyone
者安
justice.
心。
We have to make sure that
呢一場
the
大火
deceased can rest
反
in
映
peace, and that we
維
can
修
give a
建
peace
築
of
工
mind to
程
those who
從
survive.
施工到監督
This fire
都出現嚴
reflects
重
that
疏忽，
there are
多個
gross
環節都出
negligences
現失誤
in
嘅問
different
題。
parts of the maintenance
我哋必
works.
須作系統性改革。
Mistakes
呢啲
were
問題
made,
包
and
括
we need a
一、
systemic reform.
樓宇維修工程嘅施工
Issues
安
include
全
the
要
following.
求、
First,
標準、監督同埋日常維護制
standards
度。
were not met.
二、有關
we have
工
to
程
make
各
sure that
環節
there is a
有
good
否不
regulatory
適當
system.
嘅相連
Second,
利
we
益、
have to make sure
角
if
色
there
衝
were
突、
transfer
不
of
當嘅
benefits
合
as well
謀
as
串聯
conflicts
等
of
系統問題。
interests, or whether
第
there
三
were any
針對
collusion.
樓宇維修工
Third,
程，現行安全
on
標
building
準嘅
maintenance
用料
works,
清單
we
是否
have
全
to
面？
review
有
whether
關
the
嘅驗
list
證
of
同埋檢測制
compliant
度
safety
是否有效？
materials is comprehensive.
第四，各個
whether
環節嘅
the
監管
tests
人
are
員嘅角色
effective.
同埋責任承擔，
We have to
包括政府
review the
部門
roles of
同埋
different
授權負責
regulatory
嘅
bodies,
專業
including
人
the
士
government
等等。
departments as well as
第五
the authorized
大廈維修
professionals.
工程可能
Fifth,
涉貪圍標、
Building
違
maintenance
規招
works
標嘅問題。
may
第六，
involve bid
大
rigging
廈
or
需配置
corruption.
嘅消防系統
Sixth,
同埋佢嘅有效運作
Fire
所需
safety
嘅
systems
監督
should
同
be
埋責
equipped
任問
in
題。
every building, and we
第
have
七
to look，
大
at
火中
who
就上述範圍
are
嘅相
liable
關
for
責
this.
任，同埋第
Lastly,
八
we
法
have
律
to
同埋
seventh,
懲
we
罰
have to look
嘅
at
足夠性。
the
喺刑
responsibilities
事
of
調
different
查、
people, and eighth,
火
we
因
have to
調
look
查
at the level of
馬不
penalty,
停
whether
蹄
they are
進行嘅
sufficient.
同時，
As we
為防
investigate
止
the cause of
同
fire
類悲劇再
in
次發
full
生，
steam, in
我會
order
成
to
立
prevent
由一名法官
the
主持嘅
same
獨立委
tragedy
員
from
會，
happening, I
審
will
視事故嘅
set up an
起火同埋
independent
迅速
commission
蔓
of
延嘅
inquiry
原
to
因
be chaired
同埋
by
相關
a
問題。
judge
我會聯繫司法機關，邀請一名法官主持委員會嘅工作，研究詳細嘅工作範圍。同時，我會研究協助委員會高效運作，包括政府如何提供更多委員會所需資料，同埋按期要求執行某些工作，以提供更多支持，協助佢盡早完成工作。向行政長官提出建議同埋報告，助力政府深化改革。同時，我哋嘅救援工作不會停頓，不會遺留任何一個人，不會放棄任何一個家庭。我哋會協助受影響嘅家庭重建家園，盡快回復正常生活。而喺災後支援同埋重建嘅關鍵時刻，我哋必須放眼長遠，堅定前行，穩步推進社會嘅正常運作。各位，我已經作出決定，原定喺10月7日嘅舉行嘅立法會選舉將如期舉行。喺過去一段時期，我部署同埋指示咗滅火救援、治理傷者、設計援助方案同埋制度方向。設立援助基金，推動捐獻、安置災民，指示協助家庭辦理後續事宜，同埋就事件作全面調查等等。我思考下一步援助災民同埋防範同類事情發生嘅過程中，我想起改革征程。想起改革伙伴，我最需要嘅改革伙伴，必然係立法會議員。佢哋都經歷咗呢一次嘅大火，感受到共同嘅傷痛，必然會同政府一齊共同推動改革，盡職審查撥款、制定有關法律等等。選出有抱負、有能力嘅立法會議員，係重建路上重要嘅一步。支援同埋跟進工作不會停止，改革嘅步伐不能停頓。我哋必須前行，先至能夠化悲痛為力量。如期完成立法會選舉，係對憲制秩序同埋法治精神嘅遵守同埋尊重。選舉日期具有法定性，選舉有指定程序，必須按法律要求進行。如期完成選舉，亦都係對社會穩定嘅維護，更加係對災後重建工作嘅有力支撐。讓新一屆議員盡早離職，先係能夠更快、更有效咁推進包括災後嘅重要工作、善後支援、復原重建同埋涉及嘅法律制定檢討同埋改革。好多工作都需要經過立法會審議、批准撥款同埋制定法律先至可以落實。呢個係對香港未來最負責任嘅態度。新當選嘅立法會議員喺經歷咗呢一場重大嘅悲痛之後進入議會，對佢哋而言係一次深刻嘅使命啟示。政府將與新一屆立法會帶住相同嘅理念同埋改革嘅意向，立即投入工作。今次大火必然帶嚟種種政策同埋制度嘅反思，讓新當選嘅立法會議員盡快就任，能夠讓佢哋同政府攜手以修例同埋撥款實踐制度改革。喺災難面前，我哋經歷咗失去嘅苦澀，亦都要磨練前行嘅毅力。困難壓唔到我哋，只會令我哋更加堅強。挑戰阻唔到我哋嘅前路，只會令我哋更團結。我哋必須並肩前行，重建希望，喺悲痛之中凝聚力量，讓我哋以行動實踐香港嘅團結精神，共同建設更美好嘅香港家園，寫下那不朽嘅香港名句。多謝大家。
以下落嚟傳媒提問時間啦，有意提問嘅傳媒咧，舉手示意啦，叫你之後咧講出機構名稱同埋提問不多於2個問題嘅。左手邊黑衫嘅男記者。
The gentleman on the left.
早晨，特首，香港電台提問，想問下夏主任以港澳工作領導小組副組長嘅身份南下深圳聽匯報，當中有咩含義呢？特首自己有冇參與其中呢？如果有嘅話，議題係咪包括今次大火以至係立法會選舉呢？咁夏主任會唔會都有啲咩信息係帶俾香港市民呢？另外一條問題就係嚟緊選舉會預期舉行啦，咁政府同時都係忙於支援同埋善後啲災民嘅，會唔會擔心呢兩方面嘅工作難以兼顧？特別係動員公務員去協助居民，人手調配上會唔會面對啲挑戰？
今次嘅世紀大火奪去151條性命，全香港關注。中央關注，習近平主席已經表示係極度重視，亦都指示咗全力咁支援香港救災救援。夏寶龍主任去履行習近平主席救災救援嘅精神，亦都派出咗由盧龍副主任所帶領嘅救災援助隊嚟到香港。呢個係非常感謝。夏主任對香港今次災情嘅關心，我係深切體會到嘅。亦都感謝我哋喺提出各種物資方面嘅支援咧，係經過港澳辦嘅統籌之後，已經係有兩批嚟到香港，包括之前我哋喺滅火嘅時候，甚至我哋喺而家進行緊嘅屍體辨認工作裏邊，智能系統啊、無人機啊，甚至喺醫療方面咧，去提供一啲係會醫好嘅物品，包括一啲有關嘅例如救傷嘅用具等等，都充分表現咗中央係高度重視今次嘅災情，同埋全力支援我哋工作。我亦都同夏主任有溝通過，佢係全力支持特區政府嘅救災救援工作。佢亦都肯定咗我哋所做嘅工作，亦都會繼續去支援同埋支持我哋喺救災方面嘅工作。至於喺選舉方面，我已經充分向大家講解咗預期進行立法會選舉嘅重要性，尤其係我會全心全意推動改革。喺改革嘅過程裏邊，最關鍵嘅伙伴就係立法會議員，所以盡快選出有抱負有能力嘅立法會議員，共同同政府推行改革，係非常重要。所以我哋會全力去做好選舉工作。但係我亦都強調，我哋嘅支援工作不會停頓。我哋去協助災民嘅努力，不會減少，只會增加。而當我哋完成立法會選舉，我哋更可以聚精會神，全力去幫助災民。到時我嘅力量唔止係政府，唔止係有心嘅廣大市民，更加係真真正正喺憲制上有權力嘅立法會議員，包括撥款、制定法例、改革我哋嘅法律，呢都要經過立法會嘅。所以如果我哋立法會喺互相配合、互相制衡、行政主導嘅原則下咧，共同為香港建設我哋更美好嘅家園，防止呢啲悲劇再發生。我覺得係必須嘅。我哋會做選舉工作，不會讓任何救援工作停頓。我哋只會加快我哋嘅
右手邊淺藍色咗男記者。
The gentleman in light blue in the second row.
Two questions from AFP. So first, can you first confirm whether 3 people, including a student, a former district councillor, and a volunteer, have been arrested for this sedition? And if so, what did they do that was seditious? My second question is, over the past few years, you have spoken about leading Hong Kong from chaos to order and from order to prosperity. And yet this prosperous society allowed 151 people to burn to death. Can you tell us why you deserve to keep your job?
Well, criminals commit offense must be taken to justice. Law enforcement agencies, when they discover crimes, whatever their nature are, then they must be dealt with in accordance with the law. Whoever they are, whatever their background is, if their acts contravene the law, law enforcement agencies must take action, and they have a duty to do so. And I emphasize, I would not tolerate any crimes, particular crimes that exploit the tragedy that we are facing now. Societies, everybody in Hong Kong are uniting to help those who suffer to continue their living and face up to the future. Anybody who dares to sabotage this attempt, this commitment of society, we will do anything we can to ensure that justice will be done. Yes, it is a tragedy. It is a big fire. Yes, we need a reform. Yes, we have identified failures in different stages. That is exactly why we must act seriously to ensure that all these loopholes are plugged so that those who are responsible will be accountable. The shortcomings will be addressed. The bottlenecks will be addressed. And we will reform the whole building renovation system to ensure that such thing will not happen again. Nobody, of course, will want fire to happen. We'll do our best. It has been the effort of the government, of everybody in society, of everybody involved in this area to do their best. But fire happens in different cities, despite different cities' government and community try their best to do it. We will do our best to prevent it, but it is exactly what the government must do now to ensure that some system failure, which may have been accumulating over years, we need to strengthen the system. We need to reform it. We need to ensure vested interests will not be allowed to be a factor to cause this tragedy. There are a number of factors, and I have explained to you the different areas that we must tackle, the different issues that we have identified. We'll work on each one of them, not a single one of them, each and every one of them. And we're willing to listen to more views, opinions about what they have discovered. This will be included in the investigation and also included in the review to be conducted. I just want to ensure one other thing. This is a time for everybody to unite for a good purpose. But for anybody who tries to sabotage the commitment of society, I will do all I can to ensure justice is done.
好，下條提問。最尾嗰行白色衫嘅女記者。
The lady in the last row in white.
第二嗰個係。
Yes.
係你好 Cable 嘅雲福苑咧最新調查結果就顯示呢一啲即係唔合標準嘅爬網樣本係喺一啲好難觸及嘅地方去檢取。其實係咪代表而家全港有爬網嘅地方，即係即使係之前已經攞到一啲嘅證書認證啦，或者係被政府抽查發現係合乎標準，都唔係100%合規或者安全？咁頭先提到即係雖然話樓宇工程要改革，亦都要靠市民去自律，但係政府作為把關人，其實能唔能夠排除唔係有巡查嘅部門草率咗？制度上係咪有一啲嘅漏洞要填補？頭先講到嘅獨立調查委員會，會唔會遲啲會公開成份報告？最快幾時會有第一階段嘅結果？頭先亦都有提到第二啦，就係選舉會如期舉行，點解唔考慮運用而家有嘅條例俾嘅空間去押後呢？呢個社會即係而家暫時都係瀰漫住一個悲痛嘅情緒，會唔會擔心觀感上係冇考慮到死者家屬嘅感受呢？唔該。
今次呢，我哋嘅調查咧已經發現呢係有一啲違法嘅人呢係有預謀咁將合規同埋不合規嘅圍網呢混合嚟用，混水摸魚。我亦都相信喺整個咁多個維修工程呢，肯定有工程係合規嘅，亦都調查顯示可能有一部分的確有呢啲咁違背良心近天理不容嘅一啲違法行為。我哋拘捕咗啦，10幾個拘捕咗50，10幾個拘捕咗貪污。我哋而家係作出巡查，喺我哋屋宇署亦都做咗300幾個樓宇有圍網嘅地方做咗巡查，亦都取咗樣。咁我係要求發展局呢，當我哋取咗樣嘅樣本化驗咗之後呢，盡快將個結果公佈。無良嘅人就等於我哋每日社會見到嘅罪犯。全世界每個城市都係有一啲咁邪惡嘅人呢係犯法，所以每個城市嘅犯罪數字都存在，但係我哋要努力打擊。但係今次呢，我哋認為喺缺失方面係涉及不同嘅環節。剛才我講咗，起碼有7同埋8點係我認為需要處理好嘅事情。喺檢測監督方面，我哋睇到疏漏。我哋有睇到要強化。呢啲正係我所講，調查一定係一問到底、問責到底、追究責任、改革整個制度。所以我哋會繼續係努力做呢項工作。另外，犯法嘅人佢嘅手法會不斷改變。呢啲係過去打擊罪案嘅時候，執法部門經常面對違法分子係會千方百計改變佢犯罪手法，所以同違法分子去鬥爭、去克服調查所面對嘅挑戰，我哋應該係支持所有執法人員喺佢哋去勇於面對挑戰，不斷去應付層出不窮轉變嘅新犯罪手法嘅一啲團伙嘅一啲罪犯，我哋應該予以支持鼓勵。有關我將成立嘅委員會呢，佢嘅調查報告一定會公開，全面公開。另外選舉方面，我已經強調咗。喺我哋嘅改革路上，我哋會積極推動各方面嘅優化。我哋系統改革會係全面嘅。我需要嘅改革伙伴最重要嘅係立法會議員，盡快選出有能力、有抱負、
to work with
亦
us,
都
we have
有
to
擔當嘅立
elect
法
as
會議
soon
員
as possible those with
盡早
aspiration and
履
those
職
who are capable
去
and
審核
competent, so that they
我哋
can
政
exercise
府
their
嘅方
duties
案、
as early
我
as
哋嘅
possible to
改
help
革建議
scrutinize and
同
examine
埋撥
government
款等等
proposals
都
as
必須
well
要
as our
立
funding
法會議員
proposals. We
去
need legislative counselors
全力盡快工作咧，去幫
to
助我
make an
哋。
all-out effort in order
我都
to give
強
us the
調
support.
救援工作不會停，
I also
支援
stress
工
that
作
we
不
will
會停，
not stop with the
我哋
relief
嘅
work
改
as
革步伐
well
亦
as the
不會停。
rescue work.
所
We
以
will
盡快完
also
成選舉，對
continue
我哋
to
嘅改革
reform.，
對我哋
So
嘅
we
支援，
have to
對
conduct
我
the
哋對
election
災
as
民
soon as
可以
possible.
幫到嘅
This
地
will help
方，
us with the
只會係
reform
更集
and it
中、
will
更
help us
多、
give
更
support,
到位。
more focused support
好，
and
係問
more
多條提
effective
問。
support to the affected
唔
residents.
記得姐最比
We'll
較
take
中
another
間嗰位，
question.
唔該。
The reporter in the middle.
Good morning, Mr. Liu from RTHK. So first, can you detail more in English in terms of what is the way forward for the investigations into the fire in Taipo? And secondly, how is the government going to ensure that all the funds and public donations and every resources that the government has received or the public has given would actually reach those affected and help them, including, say, foreign domestic helpers? Thank you.
For investigations into this fire, there are quite a number of investigations because we're to ensure that justice is done. We want to ensure that we will prevent such a tragedy to happen again. So first of all, there's a serious investigation to ascertain the cause of the fire and why it develops in such a high speed, causing such serious deaths and injuries. That is being conducted by a professional team led by Fire Service Department with the law enforcement agencies, particularly the police. There is also an investigation into those who we have ascertained at this level to be accountable. These include 13 people arrested by the police for suspected manslaughter, and also about 12 people arrested by the ICAC for corrupt practices, which relate to this tragedy. Both investigations reveal that the responsible culprits try to mix up substandard net with qualified lessness, so as to cheat inspection and law enforcement agencies. The modus operandi of criminals change every day. They are evil. They are cunning. But I thank the law enforcement agencies to do all they can to overcome these challenges and keep digging, leaving no stones unturned. So I urge this joint investigation by the police and the ICAC to proceed as fast as possible so that those responsible should be charged to court ASAP. And I also want them to investigate to see whether there will be other people involved in any related capacity, so that anybody who should be accounted for should be accounted for, and justice is seen to be done, so they will let the dead rest in peace, let society see that justice is done. I have identified a large number of areas where issues should be addressed, because this tragic fire reflects significant lapses in the building works, from construction to supervision, with multiple points of failure. And we must implement systemic reform. And the issues identified include, first, the safety requirements, standards, supervision, and routine maintenance system for construction works. Second, systemic issues in the construction process, such as inappropriate connected interests, conflicts of roles, and corrupt collusion. Third, establishing an up-to-date list of materials for which safety standards are properly set, their review and updating, the required verification and testing systems. Fourth, examining the roles and responsibilities of regulatory personnel across all stages of the project chain, including government departments and authorized professionals. Fifth, issues of corruption, bid rigging, and irregular tendering in building maintenance projects. Sixth, the supervision and responsibility of the installation and effective operation of fire safety systems in buildings. Seventh, accountability related to the above areas in the fire in Tai Po. And eighth, the adequacy or otherwise of legislation and penalties. I call for thorough investigation and serious reform. We will overcome the obstacles of vested interests, pursue accountability, regardless of who he or she is. We must uncover the truth, ensure that justice is served, let the deceased rest in peace, and provide comfort to the living. Therefore, while criminal and fire investigations are proceeding continuously, I will establish an independent committee to conduct comprehensive and in-depth review to reform the building work system and prevent similar tragedies from occurring in the future. To ensure the committee's independence and credibility, I will invite a judge to lead its work. I shall liaise with him to define its detailed terms of reference, and at the same time, I will explore ways to assist in supporting the committee's operational efficiency, such that the government can provide more detailed information or carry out some work on its direction, so as to enable it to complete its task efficiently and submit a report early to the Chief Executive with recommendations to assist the government to make the reform. Regarding all the donations, I must thank everybody, all the donors, for their kindness, sincerity, and commitment to help us, to help Hong Kong as a whole, to help particularly those who suffered in this fire, to recover their lives, and also to ensure that they will continue to look ahead and live their living. We ensure all the resources are well put on them to ensure they will live through this difficult time and also recover their new living. We will, of course, publish clearly the account of the use of money. But there will be a lot of work that we need to do. We'll continue to talk to the victims, the families, and those affected, to listen to their wishes and wants, to see how we can help to ensure that they can continue to live a normal life. But I sincerely urge and request every one of us to unite, to help them, to unite, to make the reform, to unite, to take justice, to take those responsible to justice, and also to create a common will to make Hong Kong a better home for everybody. Thank you.
好，今日會見傳媒嘅環節去到啦，唔該晒，唔該各位傳媒朋友，唔該晒。